Popularity of the Amazon Fire tablets have challenged the conception of what you can pick up for relatively low cash. Hey folks, here OS Reviews. You're watching our video first look and a unboxing impressions of the Insignia 8-inch Flex tablet, which runs on Android version 6.0. It retails for $60, but you can get a refurbished model directly on Best Buy website for under $35, which again is extremely competitive as a low-end entry-level tablet, and offers specs which are also decent enough for this competitive space. And they include an 8-inch display which uses IPS technology. It is a 720p panel, and it offers 16 gigabytes of built-in flash storage expandable via a microSD card. It features the same 2-megapixel camera sensor on the front as well as on the back, and it does run on Intel's Bay Trail quad-core processor, which is decent enough for an entry-level device, and it's clocked at 1.33 GHz. There's the standard wireless options inclusive of both Wi-Fi and Bluetooth 4.0. Taking a quick look at the packaging here, there's some basic specifications on the back. It's the same style of packaging that all of Insignia's products, which is the in-house brand for Best Buy, offer, and they typically give you pretty good value for the money. The benefit of getting something like this as opposed to the Fire tablet is if you're not invested into Amazon's ecosystem, you don't want to see their ads, you don't want to purchase things, you don't have a Prime membership, it makes sense to get something that doesn't have, all the bloatware installed. And this is a very clean vanilla build of Android 6.0 Marshmallow, so a pretty up-to-date version. Dimensions are labeled here, and it weighs 0.8 pounds, which is also pretty lightweight. It's built out of plastic mostly, and there's also GPS on board. So let's take a quick look at what you get inside the packaging. Seems like right on top we have just the tablet. We'll take a closer look at this in a second. Set this off to the side. And underneath here we have just a few things. There's a quick start guide or a user manual, and then there is a fairly standard micro USB cable for charging and syncing, and it takes about 3 hours to completely charge. It doesn't use the newer USB Type-C standard, but again, at this price point, we're not really complaining. And finally, it seems like we have just a quick wall plug. You can see it's a pretty glossy material. There's a standard USB socket. It's not Qualcomm's quick charge technology, but it works, and you can bring this with you when you're traveling or on the go. And that's basically it. So there's no headphones, nothing else that's really fancy since it is such a low-cost device. So here's the tablet itself. Let's see if there's any power. I'm going to tap on here for a few seconds. And maybe not. Maybe there's it seems to be a little bit left, and we'll take a quick look. So again, this is an 8-inch tablet, so it competes with, in terms of size, something like the iPad mini. It's pretty portable, slightly larger than your 7-inch device, and slightly larger display also makes sense here in 2017, as phablets with larger screens are more and more prominent. Getting a tablet means you probably want to get a larger screen real estate for watching media and browsing the web. There's that camera. It does offer a multi-touch enabled capacitive touchscreen, and the side features access to the power switch in addition to the volume rocker, which are both fairly tactile and responsive and risen above the surface. On the back, you can see all the ports are labeled, including the micro SD card slot, 3.5mm headphone jack, microphone, micro USB port, the rear-facing camera, and some branding including Intel inside. Finally, you have just what looks like a mono speaker on the very bottom. So definitely not great speaker and sound, but again, at this price point, we really can't complain. So I've gone ahead and proceeded with the registration screens. It just told me to enter my Google password, connect to Wi-Fi, and afterwards, I was just greeted to a pretty stock install. And it seems like it's still completely loading up, trying to start for the first time. And hopefully we can take a quick look that indeed it's a very vanilla build of Android 6.0 Marshmallow. So yeah, looks like this. We have the typical Insignia Flex kind of wallpaper by default, which has the company's branding. There is an accelerometer, so the screen automatically rotates depending on what you're using it in an orientation, and it works for mobile gaming. And of course, there's the drag down notification shade that pops up anywhere from the top of the display. Typical Google apps are found here, so very clean install, and you can customize it as you would like. Let's take a quick look at some of the wallpapers, for instance. And you can see that essentially you just have this Insignia wallpaper and then some custom animated ones. So pretty typical. And then the main screen here, not too much going on, just a very clean build And you can, of course, use the Play Store to install more games and apps as you need it, which is great. Again, there's not too much memory on here, but it is expandable, which is nice to see on us, especially on such a low-cost device. First impressions, I would say the screen is actually pretty good. It's very sensitive, but it feels a little bit plasticky, but viewing angles seem to be fairly generous, even though it's a glossy display, which means that it will glare and reflect light when you are using it outdoors or in the sun. But you can see that virtual on-screen controls are very sensitive, and it doesn't seem to have that much slowdown or lag, which is really all that matters on such a low-cost product. So anyways, I've been pretty pleased with the overall build. It's plasticky, but it feels pretty well built in the sense it doesn't creak or cringe, and it's lightweight enough to just really easily toss into a backpack and take with you. And it seems like the hardware is decent enough on such an aggressively low-cost product. So we're going to do a bit more testing and come out with a full review soon, but this has been our unboxing and first impressions. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. This has been the updated version 6.0 Insignia Flex 8-inch tablet.